Admiral Park Dong-hyun was drinking tea when the message arrived. He sat in his office at Terran Defense Command, reading reports about mining disputes and pirate attacks. Normal problems for a normal day. His assistant knocked on the door. "Admiral, we received an emergency signal from the outer colonies." "Which colony?" Park asked, not looking up from his papers. "Harvest Moon, sir." "The signal is disturbing." Park finally looked up. His assistant's face was pale. In 20 years of service, Park had never seen the young man look so worried. "Show me." They walked to the communications center. The signal had taken 8 months to reach Earth. Space was vast, and even messages traveling at light speed took a long time to cross the darkness. The recording was broken and full of static. But the words were clear enough. "This is Harvest Moon Colony. We are under attack by alien forces. They call themselves the Veltar Dominion. 67 warships. They want to destroy us all. Please remember us. Please avenge us." The message ended there. No other signals had come from Harvest Moon since then. Admiral Park played the recording 3 more times. Each time he hoped he had heard wrong, but the words never changed. "Get me President Kim Ji-woo," he ordered. "Right now." President Kim was in a meeting about trade agreements when the call came. She was a smart woman who had led Earth for 6 years. She had dealt with many crises, but nothing like this. "Admiral Park, this better be important," she said as she answered the phone. "Madam President, we have a code red situation. I need you to come to Defense Command immediately." The President's meeting ended very quickly. Within an hour, she sat in a secure briefing room listening to the message from Harvest Moon. "How many people lived there?" she asked. 47,000 civilians, Madam President. Mostly farmers and their families." President Kim closed her eyes. "Nearly 1 million people gone. Are we sure this is real? Could it be some kind of mistake?" "We sent 3 probe ships to check," Admiral Park said. They just reported back. "Harvest Moon is gone. The entire planet has been burned. Nothing lives there now." Dr. Yoon Hye-jin entered the room. She was Earth's best expert on the possibility of alien life. For 30 years, she had studied what other species might be like. Now her theories had become terrible reality. "What can you tell us about these Veltar?" President Kim asked her. "Very little. The name suggests they have a military culture. The fact that they used 67 ships for one colony means they are either very careful or very cruel. Maybe both." General Oh Sung-woo joined the meeting. He commanded Earth's military forces. He was a tough man who had fought pirates and rebels across human space. "What are our options?" the president asked him. "Limited," General Oh said honestly. "We have 847 warships spread across 12 fleets. Most are designed to fight other human ships, not alien technology, and we don't know where these Veltar come from." The room fell quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. Earth had ships and weapons, but they were built for small conflicts. No one had planned for a war against unknown aliens. "There is something else," Admiral Park said. "We have been monitoring alien communications for the past month. Since we started looking, we found signals from other species. Dozens of them. The galaxy is full of intelligent life. Are any of them friendly?" President Kim asked. "Unknown. Most seem to avoid each other. But the Veltar signals are different. They broadcast often, and their messages sound like victory celebrations." Dr. Yoon studied the data on her tablet. "They might be conquerors. A species that destroys others for territory or resources. Or for fun," General Oh added grimly. Captain Moon Jae-sung was called to the meeting. He commanded the TDS Terra's Wrath, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. The ship was experimental, built around a drive system that most people did not understand. "Captain Moon, explain your ship's capabilities," President Kim ordered. "Terra's Wrath has a stellar manipulation drive," Moon said. "It was designed for deep space exploration. The drive can affect gravity and energy on a massive scale. We have never used it at full power." "What could it do at full power?" Dr. Yoon asked. Moon looked uncomfortable. "Theoretical calculations suggest it could destabilize a star. But that was never the intended purpose." Chief Engineer Lee Han-ah worked on Terra's Wrath. She knew the ship better than anyone. When Captain Moon called her to the meeting, she brought detailed technical reports. "The drive works by manipulating space-time," she explained. "We can create artificial gravity fields or energy discharges. In theory, we could make a star collapse into itself. How long would that take?" General Oh asked. "Minutes, sir. Maybe hours for a very large star. But the energy requirements would be enormous. We would need the power of an entire fleet. The idea was so terrible that nobody spoke for several minutes. They were talking about destroying entire solar systems, killing billions of beings at once. We need more information, President Kim finally said. I want to know everything about the Veltar. Find out where they live, how many there are, what they want. Director Lim Kyung-soo ran Earth's intelligence services. He had spent years building spy networks across human space. Now he needed to expand those networks to cover alien territories. It will take time, Director Lim said. We have no agents in alien space. No contacts, no sources. We are starting from nothing. Then start now, the president ordered. Use every resource we have. 3 days later, the news broke. Journalist Shin Bo-ra had sources inside the government. She learned about Harvest Moon and published the story despite official requests to keep it secret. The headline read, Alien Attack Destroys Human Colony, 847,000 Dead. Within hours, the story spread across every human world. People gathered in the streets. Some cried. Others shouted for revenge. On Earth, crowds surrounded government buildings. They wanted answers. They wanted action. Most of all, they wanted justice for the dead. We cannot let this stand, a protest leader shouted to the crowd. Our people were murdered. We must make the aliens pay. President Kim called an emergency session of the Colonial Council. Representatives from all human worlds came to Earth for the meeting. The debate lasted 6 days. Some council members wanted to try diplomacy first. Maybe we can reason with them, said Representative Chang from New Seoul. They destroyed an entire world, replied Representative Torres from New California. What is there to discuss? Others wanted to focus on defense. We should build more ships and stronger weapons, suggested Representative Singh from New Mumbai. Protect what we have, but most wanted revenge. The images from Harvest Moon were hard to ignore. Satellite photos showed cities turned to glass, fields burned to ash, no life anywhere. They showed no mercy to our children, said Representative Kim from New Busan. Why should we show mercy to theirs? Director Lim presented intelligence reports during the debates. His agents had learned more about the Veltar by monitoring alien communications networks. The Veltar Dominion controls 47 star systems, he reported. They have eliminated 17 other intelligent species over the past 3,000 years. To them, destroying other races is normal. What about their military strength? General O asked. Significant, perhaps 2,000 warships. Their technology is roughly equal to ours, but they have more experience with warfare. Dr. Yoon had been studying captured Veltar communications. They view war as an art form, she reported. They take pride in completely destroying their enemies. They keep trophies from conquered worlds. What kind of trophies? President Kim asked. Debris from destroyed cities, bones from killed leaders. They have a museum on their homeworld filled with remains from dead civilizations. The final vote came on the 6th day. The question was simple. Should humanity build a fleet capable of destroying the Veltar homeworld? The debate had been fierce, but the vote was close. One representative changed her mind at the last moment, thinking of her own grandchildren on the frontier worlds. The proposal passed by a single vote. President Kim signed the order that night. Project Dying Light was born. Humanity would build weapons capable of killing stars. The news spread quickly. Across human space, people had mixed reactions. Some celebrated, eager for revenge. Others worried about the cost and the danger. But the work began immediately. Every shipyard in human space received new orders. Mining operations expanded to gather materials. Scientists worked around the clock on new technologies. General O took command of the largest military buildup in human history. We will build a fleet like nothing ever seen, he promised the president. When we are done, the galaxy will know that humanity protects its own. Captain Moon returned to his ship with new orders. Terra's wrath would become the centerpiece of humanity's revenge. Engineer Lee began modifications that would turn an exploration vessel into a weapon of unimaginable power. The work would take 2 years. 2 years to build a fleet that could cross the galaxy and destroy an entire species. 2 years to turn humanity's grief into the fire that would burn down stars. The Veltar had no idea what was coming. They thought humans were just another weak species to be eliminated. They would learn too late that some prey fights back. And when humanity finished its work, the galaxy would learn a new truth. Never threaten the children of Earth. The cost of that mistake was the death of everything you love. Fleet Admiral An Sang-woo had never seen anything like it. Every shipyard in human space was working at full speed. The sound of construction never stopped. Day and night, workers built ships for the greatest fleet in human history. He stood on the observation deck of Luna shipyard, watching 12 new destroyers take shape. Behind them, 3 heavy cruisers were being fitted with weapons. The work never slowed. "How many ships will we have?" asked his aide, Commander Huang. 247 warships when we are finished," An replied. "More than 3 times our current fleet. But building ships was only part of the job. Shipwright Ko Yunbi had the harder task of converting civilian vessels into weapons of war. She worked at the asteroid mining station Ceres, turning ore haulers into battleships. These ships were not meant for fighting, she told her workers. But we will make them fight anyway. The mining ship New Horizon was her biggest project. It was enormous, designed to carry millions of tons of asteroid ore. Ko's team stripped out the cargo holds and installed armor plating. They added rail guns and missile launchers. When finished, it would be one of the most powerful ships in the fleet. "Will it work?" asked engineer Park Nam-jin. "It has to work," Ko replied. "Our people are counting on us." Dr. Seo Jun-ho had designed the stellar manipulation drive on Terra's Wrath. Now he worked on something much more dangerous. In a secret laboratory on Europa, he built humanity's first star-killer weapon. The device was massive. It filled an entire room and required its own fusion reactor for power. When activated, it would create a controlled gravity collapse that could destroy a star in minutes. "Are you sure this will work?" asked his assistant, Dr. Choi Ye-jin. "The mathematics are correct," Seo replied. "But we have never tested it on a real star. What if something goes wrong?" Seo looked at the images of Harvest Moon on his wall. Cities turned to glass. Children's playgrounds burned to ash. "Then we build another one," he said, "and another after that, until we get it right." Engineer Yang Mi-kyung worked with Seo on the technical problems. The Star Killer needed incredible precision to work properly. One small mistake could make it explode harmlessly, or worse, destroy the ship carrying it. "The targeting system is the hardest part," Yang explained to the engineering team. "We have to hit a star's core from millions of kilometers away, and we only get one chance." The prototype was ready after 8 months of work. They tested it on an uninhabited red dwarf star in an empty system. The test was observed by sensors placed throughout the system. Dr. Seo activated the device from a safe distance. Energy beams reached out across space, invisible but incredibly powerful. They touched the star's core and began the collapse. "Gravity readings are spiking," reported Eng. "The star's fusion is stopping. Core temperature dropping rapidly," added Choi. "The process is working." 17 minutes later, the star exploded. The blast destroyed the sensor drones, but not before they recorded everything. "It works," Seo said quietly. "We can kill stars." Intelligence officer Ryu Hyun-woo had a different job. While others built weapons, he gathered information about the enemy. He used captured alien technology to access galactic communication networks. What he learned was disturbing. The Veltar Dominion was huge and powerful. They controlled 47 star systems and had been conquering other species for thousands of years. They call themselves the Apex Predators, Ryu reported to Fleet Admiral An. They believe they are the strongest species in the galaxy. "What about their defenses?" An asked. "That is the interesting part, sir. Their core systems have almost no defenses. They have never needed to protect their homeworld." This made sense to Ryu. The Veltar had always been the attackers, never the defenders. No enemy had ever reached their home systems. They thought they were safe. Captain Song In-young commanded the stealth ship Silent Observer. Her job was to sneak into Veltar space and gather detailed intelligence. It was incredibly dangerous work. The Silent Observer was painted black and covered with sensors that absorbed enemy radar. It could hide in asteroid fields or behind planets. Song used these abilities to study Veltar worlds without being detected. "Their homeworld is beautiful," she reported after her first mission. 4 planets around a blue giant star. Billions of aliens living in floating cities and orbital stations. "Any military bases?" asked Admiral An. "Some, but they are small. Most of their fleet is deployed to conquered territories. The homeworld only has a few hundred ships for protection." Song's most disturbing discovery was the Veltar Museum of Conquest. It was a massive structure in orbit around their capital planet. Inside were trophies from every species they had destroyed. They have pieces of Harvest Moon on display, Song reported with anger in her voice. Fragments of our buildings. Children's toys. They think it is art. Dr. Nam Sujin was a psychologist who studied the enemy's behavior. She analyzed captured Veltar communications to understand how they thought. They view warfare as a form of cultural expression, she explained to the military leaders. Each conquest is judged on its artistic merit. Complete destruction is considered more beautiful than partial victory. What does that mean for us? Asked General O. They will never negotiate, never surrender. They see us as raw material for their art. The only way to stop them is to destroy them completely. This knowledge hardened human resolve. There could be no mercy for a species that treated genocide as entertainment. Scientist Kwon Young-min worked on a smaller version of the Starkiller for testing. His job was to make sure the weapon would work when humanity needed it most. He built a device 1/10 the size of the main weapon. It could destroy asteroids and small moons. The test results would help improve the larger weapon. We cannot afford failure, Kwon told his team. When we reach the Veltar homeworld, we will only get one chance. The first test destroyed an asteroid belt in an empty system. The second test collapsed a dead planet's core. Each success brought humanity closer to its goal. Meanwhile, the fleet continued to grow. Workers at Mars shipyard launched the battleship Vengeance. At Titan Station, the heavy cruiser Justice was completed. Every human world contributed ships to the growing armada, but ships needed crews. Admiral An faced the challenge of training hundreds of thousands of naval personnel in less than 2 years. We are taking civilians and turning them into warriors, he told his staff. Farmers, miners, teachers, anyone who volunteers. The volunteers came from every human world. Parents who had lost children at Harvest Moon, young people who wanted to protect their families, old veterans who could not stand by while aliens threatened humanity. Commander Lee Miran ran the largest training facility on Luna. Every day, new recruits arrived to learn how to fight in space. Space combat is different from anything else, she told each new class. There is no cover, no retreat. You fight until you win, or until you die. The recruits trained with simulator programs based on captured Veltar technology. They learned to operate human weapons against alien defenses. They studied enemy tactics and developed counter-strategies. Remember, Commander Lee told them, the Veltar think we are weak. They think we will break easily. We are going to prove them wrong. Captain Ko Jin-woo commanded the heavy cruiser Vengeance. His ship was one of the first to be completed, and he used it to train other captains. Alien weapons are different from ours, he explained during a training exercise. Their energy beams can penetrate most human armor, but their shields are weak against our kinetic weapons. The training was intense and dangerous. Some ships were damaged in mock battles. A few crew members were injured learning to operate new weapon systems. But the fleet grew stronger every day. Engineer Lee Ha-na continued modifying Terra's Wrath for its special mission. The ship would carry the Starkiller weapon and protect it during the long journey to Veltar space. The weapon takes up most of our cargo space, she reported to Captain Moon. We had to remove half our missiles to make room. Will we have enough firepower to protect ourselves? Moon asked. The escort fleet will handle most threats. Our job is to deliver the weapon to the target. As the second year of preparation began, humanity faced new challenges. The enormous cost of building the fleet strained the economy. Some civilian projects were canceled to free up resources, but public support remained strong. When protesters complained about the expense, counter-protesters reminded them of Harvest Moon. The memory of 847,000 dead civilians kept the population focused on revenge. President Kim visited the fleet construction sites regularly. She wanted to see the progress for herself and encourage the workers. Every ship you build brings us closer to justice, she told the workers at Earth Orbital. Every weapon you install makes our children safer. The intelligence networks finally located the Veltar homeworld. It was called Veltar Prime, a system with 4 inhabited planets around a massive blue giant star. 12.4 billion aliens live in that system, reported Director Lim. It is their cultural, military, and economic center. How long to reach it? Asked Admiral An. 2 years at maximum fleet speed. But our ships are faster than theirs. They will not expect us to arrive so quickly. The final piece of the plan fell into place when scientists solved the power problem. The Starkiller weapon needed enormous energy to function. A single ship could not provide enough power. The Veltar homeworld was the most beautiful system Admiral Zektu had ever seen. 4 planets orbited a magnificent blue giant star. Floating cities drifted through space like jewels. Orbital habitats housed billions of Veltar citizens. Zektu commanded the home defense fleet from his flagship, the Conquest of Worlds. It was a massive ship, decorated with trophies from a dozen conquered species. The bridge displayed artifacts from destroyed civilizations. "Admiral," his sensor officer reported, "we are detecting incoming ships at the edge of the system." "How many?" Zektu asked without much interest. "Pirates sometimes tried to raid Veltar space. They were always easy to destroy, scanning." 247 vessels, sir." Zektu's head snapped up. That was not a pirate raid. That was a full invasion fleet. "Show me." The main screen displayed the approaching human armada. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect formation. At the center was the largest vessel Zektu had ever seen, the dreadnought Terra's Wrath. "What species are they?" Zektu demanded. "Unknown design, sir. Wait. Checking our database. These match the description of human ships." Zektu laughed. Humans were the weak species his fleet had eliminated at Harvest Moon 2 years ago. A few farming worlds scattered across distant space. Why would they come here? "They must be seeking revenge for their destroyed colony," Zektu told his officers. "How pathetic. Prepare 340 ships for battle. We will teach these humans proper respect." Emperor Velthak received the news in his crystal palace on Veltar Prime. The palace was built from the compressed remains of conquered civilizations. Each wall contained the memory of a dead species, humans, the emperor said with amusement. "I remember that conquest. Weak creatures who grew food plants. Admiral Kethvar destroyed them in less than a day." "They have brought many ships, Your Magnificence," reported his advisor. "Then we will have many new trophies for the museum. Have Zektu capture some human commanders alive. I want to see these creatures before we kill them." Admiral Zektu launched his fleet with confidence. The Veltar had never lost a battle. Their weapons were powerful and their tactics were perfect. These humans would provide good target practice. Fleet Admiral An Sang-woo stood on the bridge of Terra's Wrath, watching the enemy ships approach. After 2 years of travel, they had finally reached their destination. "Enemy fleet consists of 340 warships," reported his sensor officer. "They are advancing in standard attack formation." "Any communication attempts?" An asked. "None, sir. They appear to be treating us as a minor threat." That was exactly what An had hoped for. The Veltar arrogance would be their weakness. "Open a channel on all frequencies," An ordered. "I want every species in this part of the galaxy to hear what I say next." The communication officer worked quickly. "Channel open, sir. Broadcasting on 47 different frequencies." An stepped forward. His voice was calm but carried the weight of terrible purpose. "I am Fleet Admiral An Sang-woo of the Terran Defense Force. 2 years ago, your people murdered 847,000 innocent civilians at Harvest Moon Colony. You destroyed our children while they slept. You burned our farms while families hid in shelters. You showed no mercy to those who had done you no harm." The transmission reached every ship in the Veltar fleet. It also reached monitoring stations across dozens of star systems. Other alien species listened with growing amazement. "Today we have come to balance the scales," An continued. "Today you will learn what happens when you threaten the children of Earth. Today your empire dies." Admiral Zektu heard the transmission and laughed. "Brave words from a doomed species. All ships attack formation. Show these humans the power of the Veltar Dominion." The space battle began at extreme range. Veltar ships fired their energy weapons first. Beams of superheated plasma reached across the void toward the human fleet. Captain Moon Jae-sung watched the enemy fire approach. Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter and engage. The human fleet broke apart like an exploding flower. Individual ships and squadrons attacked from different angles. Their movements were coordinated but unpredictable. Wing Commander Park Min-jun led the first fighter strike. His squadron launched from the carrier New Seoul, racing toward the enemy battleships. "Remember your training," he told his pilots. "Hit their shield generators first. Clear the way for our capital ships." The fighters were tiny compared to the Veltar warships, but they were fast and agile. They darted between enemy fire, launching missiles at critical systems. Captain Ko Jin-woo commanded the heavy cruiser Vengeance. His ship was one of the converted civilian vessels, built for mining asteroids instead of fighting battles. But his crew had trained hard for this moment. "Target their flagship," Ko ordered. All weapons continuous fire. The Vengeance unleashed its full arsenal. Railguns fired solid projectiles at incredible speed. Missile launchers sent dozens of warheads toward the enemy. Energy cannons added their own deadly light to the battle. The Veltar had expected easy victory, but human weapons were more advanced than they realized. Human scientists had spent 2 years studying captured Veltar technology and designing counters. Their shields are failing faster than expected, reported Commander Huang from the flagship. Our kinetic weapons are punching right through. Press the attack, Admiral An ordered. Give them no time to recover. Admiral Zektu watched in growing alarm as his ships took heavy damage. Human weapons seemed designed specifically to counter Veltar defenses. How are they doing this? He demanded. Our shields should stop their primitive weapons. Their projectiles are made of compressed neutronium, his science officer reported. They punch through our energy barriers like they are not there. Zektu had never faced an enemy this prepared. The humans had studied Veltar technology and built weapons to exploit its weaknesses. Call for reinforcements, he ordered. All available ships to the battle zone, but it was too late. The human fleet moved with deadly precision. Every ship knew its role and executed it perfectly. Captain Song and Young led a squadron of stealth ships against the Veltar communication arrays. Her mission was to prevent enemy reinforcements from coordinating their response. Silent running, she ordered her pilots. Take out their relay stations first. The stealth ships struck like ghosts. They appeared from nowhere, destroyed their targets, and vanished again. Within minutes, the Veltar fleet lost contact with their home base. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships took losses, but the Veltar fleet was being systematically destroyed. Admiral Zektu watched ship after ship explode on his tactical display. We have lost 60% of our forces, his aide reported. The humans are too strong. Zektu could not believe it. The Veltar had never lost a major battle. They were the apex predators of the galaxy. How could these farming creatures defeat them? Retreat, he ordered finally. Fall back to the inner system, but there was nowhere to run. Human ships surrounded the fleeing Veltar vessels. Those that tried to escape were hunted down and destroyed. Emperor Velthak watched the battle from his palace, growing more alarmed with each report. His invincible fleet was being wiped out by supposedly primitive humans. Contact the human commander, he ordered. Offer terms for surrender. The communication reached Admiral An on Terra's wrath. The Emperor appeared on screen, his alien features twisted with desperate fear. Human leader, the Emperor said, I offer you tribute. Take our territories in the outer systems. Take our captured treasure. Take whatever you want, but spare our homeworld. Admiral An looked at the alien leader who had ordered the destruction of Harvest Moon. His voice was cold as space itself. You showed no mercy to our children. We will show none to yours. But surely you are a civilized species, the Emperor pleaded. You cannot mean to destroy billions of innocent lives. Were the children at Harvest Moon not innocent? An replied. Did you think of mercy when you burned our schools and homes? The Emperor tried different offers. Military service from surviving Veltar forces, complete submission to human authority, even voluntary sterilization to prevent future generations. Each offer was met with silence from the human fleet. Captain Moon received new orders from Admiral An. Begin stellar approach. Prepare the weapon for activation. Terra's wrath moved toward the blue giant star at the center of the system. Around it, the human fleet formed a protective formation. They would shield the dreadnought while it completed its mission. Dr. Seo Jun-ho activated the Starkiller weapon in the ship's cargo bay. The massive device came online slowly, drawing power from fusion reactors across the entire fleet. Energy levels rising, reported engineer Yang Mi-kyung. All ships are contributing power as planned. Target acquisition in progress, added Dr. Choi Ye-jin. Focusing on the star's core, the weapon needed precise targeting to work properly. They had to hit the exact center of the star's fusion reaction. One mistake would waste their only chance. Weapon ready for activation, Dr. Seo announced. Admiral An looked at the tactical display. 4 planets filled with alien cities. Orbital habitats housing billions of beings. All of it about to be destroyed in the fire of their own sun. For a moment he hesitated. This was genocide on an unimaginable scale. But then he remembered the images from Harvest Moon. Children's bodies in the ruins of schools. Families burned alive in their homes. You started this war, he said quietly to the empty space. Dr. Seo Jun-ho watched the readings on his instruments with terrible fascination. The blue giant star was dying exactly as his calculations had predicted. The stellar manipulation drive aboard Terra's Wrath had begun a chain reaction that could not be stopped. Core temperature dropping rapidly, reported engineer Yang Mi-kyung from her station. Fusion reactions are failing across the entire star. How long? Asked Captain Moon Jae-sung. 11 hours and 43 minutes until complete collapse, Dr. Seo replied. Then approximately 7 minutes until the supernova explosion. Fleet Admiral An Sang-woo stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. 4 planets orbited the dying star. Each one held billions of Veltar citizens who were about to die. Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving thousands of transmission from the planets. Emergency broadcasts, evacuation calls, pleas for mercy. Ignore them, An ordered. Monitor only. Do not respond. On Veltar Prime, the capital planet, chaos filled the streets. Citizens looked up at their sun and saw it flickering like a dying candle. Government officials tried to maintain order, but panic spread faster than their words. Emperor Velthak stood in his crystal palace, watching his empire crumble. Emergency reports flooded in from across the system. 3 million ships have launched, his aide reported. But we can only evacuate 2% of the population. What about the other systems? The Emperor asked desperately. Can they send rescue ships? They are trying, Your Magnificence, but the distances are too great. Even our fastest ships cannot reach us in time. The Emperor felt something he had never experienced before: helplessness. For 3,000 years, the Veltar had been the predators. Now they were the prey. Dr. Kilvar was the Veltar's greatest scientist. She worked frantically in her laboratory, trying to find a way to stop the star's collapse. The gravitational distortion is too strong, she told her assistants. Whatever the humans did, it cannot be reversed. What if we use our own stellar manipulation technology? Suggested her colleague Dr. Morhan. We don't have any, Kilvar replied bitterly. We spent 3,000 years perfecting weapons to destroy other species. We never thought someone might try to destroy us. Children cried in the streets as their parents tried to explain what was happening. Teachers in schools struggled to keep their students calm while emergency sirens wailed outside. Will the ships come back for us? Asked a young Veltar child. Yes, her teacher lied gently. The ships will come back. But both of them knew the truth. There were not enough ships in the entire Veltar fleet to save even the children of one city, much less billions of citizens across 4 worlds. Emperor Velthak made one final attempt to reach the human commander. His transmission reached Admiral An aboard Terra's Wrath. Admiral An, the Emperor said, his voice breaking with desperation. I beg you to reconsider. Not for me, not for our leaders, but for the innocent ones. The children who have never harmed anyone. Admiral An looked at the alien leader on his screen. For a moment he felt something that might have been pity. Then he thought of Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin, who had died trying to warn Earth. He thought of Captain Lee Taemin, who had tried to protect farmers and their families. Where was your mercy for our children? An replied quietly. You had 847,000 chances to show compassion at Harvest Moon. You chose to kill them all. But this is different, the Emperor pleaded. This is billions of lives. The only difference is the scale, An said. You taught us that innocent lives have no value. We learned the lesson well. Dr. Nam Soo-jin, the fleet psychologist, stood beside Admiral An. She had studied the Veltar culture for 2 years, learning everything about their society. Admiral, she said quietly, my analysis shows they are a predator species by nature. If we leave any alive, they will rebuild and seek revenge. Their culture does not understand mercy as a strength. And if we destroy them all, An asked, then the galaxy becomes safer for every other species. The Veltar have killed 17 civilizations. This ends today. Commander Huang received reports from across the human fleet. Sir, some of our ships are requesting permission to help with evacuation efforts. Denied, Admiral An said firmly. All ships maintain current positions. Captain Ko Jin-woo aboard the cruiser, Vengeance, felt sick as he watched refugee ships flee the dying system. His own ship could have saved thousands of Veltar civilians, but his orders were clear. Captain, his communications officer said, there's a small ship approaching our position. It appears to be a Veltar civilian transport. Ko looked at his screen. The ship was old and poorly maintained. Families could be seen through its windows. Children pressed against the glass. They're requesting permission to dock, the officer reported. They say they have medical supplies our people might need. Ko closed his eyes. Maintain course. Do not respond to their transmission. The civilian ship continued to follow Vengeance for several hours before finally giving up and heading toward empty space. Ko never learned if they found another way to escape. Wing Commander Park Min-jun watched the evacuation efforts from his fighter. Thousands of ships launched from the 4 planets, but most were too slow to escape the system in time. Sir, one of his pilots reported, there's a group of Veltar fighters approaching. They're not armed. What are they doing? Park asked. They appear to be escorting civilian transports, trying to protect them from debris and traffic collisions. Park felt a strange respect for the enemy pilots. They could have fled in their fast ships, but instead they stayed to help others escape. They were brave even in the face of certain death. Do not interfere with them, he ordered his squadron. Let them do their work. Engineer Lee Hana monitored the Star Killer weapon as it continued its deadly work. The device had exceeded all expectations, operating perfectly throughout the long process. Power levels stable, she reported. The weapon is functioning exactly as designed. Any chance of stopping it now? Asked Captain Moon. None, sir. The gravitational collapse has reached the point of no return. Even if we destroyed our own weapon, the star would still die. Dr. Seo watched his instruments with mixed feelings. The weapon was his greatest scientific achievement, but also his greatest moral burden. He had created something that could destroy suns. How many more stars could we kill with this technology? He asked himself quietly. All of them, replied Dr. Choi Ye-jin, who had overheard. Every star in the galaxy if we wanted to. The thought was terrifying. Humanity now possessed the power to end civilization wherever they found it. Dr. Seo hoped they would never need to use it again. As the hours passed, the star's condition grew worse. Its light flickered and dimmed. The surface temperature dropped as fusion reactions failed across the stellar core. On the 4 planets, darkness began to fall. Not the darkness of night, but the permanent darkness of a dying sun. Temperatures dropped rapidly as the star's heat faded. Emergency broadcasts from the planets grew more desperate. Leaders begged for help from any species that might be listening. Scientists shared their final research data, hoping someone might learn from their civilization's end. This is Dr. Kilvar of the Veltar Science Institute, came one transmission. Our star will explode in 3 hours. We are transmitting all our scientific knowledge to any species that will preserve it. Perhaps some good can come from our civilization's destruction. Emperor Velthak made his final speech to his people from the Crystal Palace. Citizens of the Veltar Dominion, he said, we face the end of our empire. We brought this fate upon ourselves through our actions at Harvest Moon. For 3,000 years, we believed we were the apex predators of the galaxy. We destroyed other species without mercy or regret. We celebrated their deaths as victories. Now we learn that there are predators greater than ourselves. The humans have shown us what it means to face extinction. We can only hope that other species will learn from our mistake. The transmission ended as the palace lost power. The Emperor died when the building collapsed from seismic activity caused by the failing star. Captain Song and Young watched the final refugee ship struggle to reach escape velocity. Most would not make it. Even those that did would face years in space before reaching other Veltar colonies. How many do you think will survive? Asked her navigator. A few million perhaps, Song replied. Scattered across dozens of systems. Not enough to rebuild their empire. Is that enough to eventually threaten us again? Song thought about the question. In 1,000 years, maybe. But they will remember this day. They will tell their children about the price of threatening humanity. The final hour arrived. Dr. Seo watched his instruments as the star approached complete. Gravitational collapse, core density reaching critical levels, he reported. Collapse acceleration increasing exponentially. All ships prepare for supernova shockwave, Admiral An ordered. Maximum distance, all shields raised. The human fleet retreated to the edge of the system. Even at that distance, the explosion would be dangerous. 30 seconds to collapse, Dr. Seo announced. On the 4 planets, the last Veltar citizens looked up at their dying sun. Some prayed to their gods. Others held their families close. A few simply stood in defiant silence, refusing to show fear in their final moments. Captain Lee Tae-min walked through the green fields of Harvest Moon Colony. The morning sun made the wheat look like gold. He smiled as he watched the farmers work. This was his favorite part of being security chief. The colony was peaceful and safe. Harvest Moon was far from Earth. It took the first ships many years to reach this planet. That was 3 generations ago. Now 847,000 people called this world home. They grew food that fed 12 other human worlds. Lee stopped at the fence and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there past the clouds was the defense platform. Commander Kim Woo-jin ran that station. It watched for danger from space, but there had never been any real threats here. "Captain Lee," called a voice behind him. He turned around. Dr. Park So-young was walking toward him. She ran the whole colony. Her job was harder than his. She had to make sure almost 1 million people had everything they needed. "Good morning, Dr. Park," Lee said. "The harvest looks good this year." "Better than good," she said with a smile. "We will have more food than we planned. The other colonies will be very happy." Dr. Park held a tablet in her hands. Numbers and charts filled the screen. Lee could see her excitement. She loved her work. "Have you heard from Commander Kim today?" she asked. "Not yet. The morning report should come soon." High above them, Commander Kim Woo-jin sat in his chair on the orbital platform. He watched dozens of screens that showed space around the planet. His job was boring most days. Ships came and went. Trade vessels brought supplies and took away food. Nothing dangerous ever happened. Kim drank his coffee and checked the sensors again. Everything looked normal. Then something changed. A small alarm beeped. Kim put down his coffee and looked closer at the screen. Strange readings were coming from the edge of the system. The computer was trying to figure out what they meant. "Pilot Han Yuri," Kim called over the radio. "Yes, Commander?" came the reply from the fighter bay. "Are any of our ships expected today?" "No, sir. The next trade ship is not due for 3 days." Kim felt worried. The readings were getting stronger. Whatever was coming was big. Very big. "Get your squadron ready," Kim ordered. "We might have visitors." Han Yuri was the best pilot on the platform. She led a team of 12 fighters. They trained every week but had never faced real danger. Yuri hoped today would be like all the other training days. The alarms got louder. Kim's screens filled with red warnings. Ships were coming out of hyperspace. Not 1 or 2 ships. "Many ships, how many?" Kim asked the computer. 67 vessels detected, the computer said in its calm voice. Kim's hands shook. 67 ships was not a trade convoy. This was a fleet. "A war fleet, Dr. Park," Kim said into his radio. "This is Commander Kim, we have a problem." Down on the planet, Dr. Park stopped walking. Lee saw her face go pale. "What kind of problem?" she asked. "Unknown ships. Lots of them." "Wake up, Governor Choi, we need him now." Governor Choi Min-ho had been sleeping. He was old and tired. Running a colony was hard work. The radio call woke him up fast. "How many ships?" he asked. 67, Kim said. "They are not human ships. The design is completely different." This was the moment everyone feared but never really believed would happen. First contact with aliens, and they had brought a war fleet. Governor Choi got dressed quickly and ran to the government building. Dr. Park and Captain Lee were already there. The main screen showed the view from the orbital platform. The alien ships were huge. They looked like knives made of black metal. Strange lights pulsed along their sides. Each ship was twice as big as the largest human vessel. "Try to talk to them," Governor Choi ordered. Kim sent a radio message on all frequencies. "Unknown ships, this is Harvest Moon Colony Defense Command. Please identify yourselves and state your purpose." The response came quickly. The voice was strange and harsh. The words were broken like the aliens had learned human language from old recordings. "Small humans, we are Veltar Dominion. This world is claimed. You will leave or be removed." Governor Choi stepped forward. "This is Governor Choi Min-ho of Harvest Moon Colony. We are peaceful farmers. This world has been our home for 70 years. Surely we can find a solution that works for everyone." The alien voice laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound, no solutions. "This world is perfect for Veltar breeding. You have made it ready for us. We thank you. Now you die." The alien ships moved closer. Their weapons powered up. Energy readings spiked across all screens. "Get the children to the shelters," Governor Choi ordered. "Send out the evacuation signal." Captain Lee ran outside. Sirens were already sounding across the colony. People ran in all directions. Parents carried their children. Farmers left their fields and headed for the underground bunkers. On the orbital platform, Han Yuri climbed into her fighter. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. The engine roared to life. Behind her, 11 other pilots did the same. "All fighters, this is Dragon Leader," Yuri said into her radio. "We are going to protect our home. Stay close and follow my lead." The fighters launched from the platform like angry wasps. They were fast and agile but tiny compared to the alien warships. The first alien ship fired. A beam of blue energy struck the orbital platform. The shields held, but Kim could see they would not last long. "Fire all weapons," Kim ordered. The platform's guns shot back. Missiles and energy beams reached out toward the alien fleet. Most of the shots missed. A few hit the alien shields and did no damage. Yuri led her fighters toward the nearest alien ship. It was as big as a mountain. Her missiles looked like toys against its armor. "Target their weapons," she ordered her squadron. "Maybe we can slow them down." The fighters attacked with everything they had. Some of their shots got through the alien shields. Small explosions flowered on the dark hull. But the damage was not enough. The alien ship swatted at the fighters like a giant hitting flies. One of Yuri's friends vanished in a ball of fire. Then another. "Fall back," Yuri ordered. "We cannot win this fight." On the planet, Lieutenant Bei Sujin worked frantically at her communication station. She was trying to send a message to Earth. The aliens were jamming most of her equipment, but she might be able to get one signal through. "This is Harvest Moon Colony," she said into the transmitter. "We are under attack by alien forces. They call themselves the Veltar Dominion, 67 warships. They want to destroy us all. Please remember us. Please avenge us." She hit the send button just as the building shook. The aliens were firing on the planet now. Buildings collapsed. Fields burned. Bei tried to send the message again, but her equipment was damaged. She hoped the first signal had reached the communication relay. Someone had to know what happened here. The orbital platform's shields failed. Commander Kim watched helplessly as alien beams tore his station apart. The last thing he saw was his home planet burning below. Governor Choi stood in the government bunker as the walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "How long until Earth responds?" he asked Dr. Park. "Even if they got our message, it would take months for help to arrive," she said sadly. "We are too far away." "Then we make our last stand here," the governor said. "We show these aliens that humans do not surrender easily." But there was no real fighting to be done. The alien weapons were too powerful. The colony's defenses were meant to stop pirates, not a war fleet. Building by building, the aliens destroyed everything. They were careful and thorough. No human structure was left standing. No farm was left unburned. In the underground shelters, families held each other as the world ended above them. Parents told their children stories to help them not be afraid. But the children could hear the explosions getting closer. Han Yuri's fighter was the last one flying. Her fuel was almost gone. Her weapons were empty. Around her, the alien ships continued their work. She saw a group of aliens landing near a school shelter. She pointed her fighter toward them and pushed the engine to full power. If she was going to die, she would take some of them with her. The fighter hit the ground and exploded. The aliens barely noticed. By sunset, Harvest Moon Colony was gone. The wheat fields were ash. The cities were rubble. The orbital platform was scrap metal floating in space. The Veltar ships gathered the bodies and destroyed them completely. They wanted no trace of human life left on their new world. Then they left, satisfied with their work. To them, this had been easy. Just another day of clearing pests from a good planet. But far away, moving through the darkness between stars, a small signal traveled toward Earth. Lieutenant Bei Sujin's final message carried news that would change everything. The Veltar thought they had won a simple victory. They had no idea they had just started a war that would end with the death of stars.